And straight out to CNN correspondent Jason Carroll, who is live on the ground. Jason, as we show you these live pictures, live images of protests going on where you're at in the same community, how has this new incident involving another young African-American man shot dead by police just a few miles away affected the mood in Ferguson as we head toward nighttime?
Well, here's the issue. I think there's a very strong argument, just from being here on the ground for as long as I have, that the mood has been the same for decades. And the mood is this, that there is a significant number of people in the African-American community who do not trust the police department. When you have a Michael Brown incident, that amplifies that. And then when you have another incident like what you saw earlier today, once again, that just feeds into this gulf between these two people. You've got African Americans on the ground, many of whom are out here right now in support of Michael Brown, saying that the Ferguson Police Department has consistently treated them unfairly. That's why you see so much anger here on the ground. That's why you see so many people demonstrating like we saw last night. But I have to make a point about that, and that's this, that there are a number of people, in fact, the majority of the people who are coming out here are out here to peacefully demonstrate and to peacefully protest, make a political statement. But what police are dealing with here on the ground are these so-called people coming from the outside, a number of so-called outside agitators. If you look at the arrest numbers, some 70 people arrested last night. Police saying one out of four were people actually from out of town. And so what police are having to deal with is, how do you deal with the protesters who are here peacefully trying to make a political statement versus those who are out here to cause trouble, to steal, and to loot? That is what police have been dealing with every single night, and most likely that's what they'll be dealing with again tonight.
Well, what are the ground rules for tonight, Jason? Are they saying, for example, protesters have to keep moving, they can't stop? Is there a curfew? What are the ground rules as we are still reeling from this latest news of yet another police deadly shooting?
Well, let me just say one thing about that. That's part of some of the criticism that police and law enforcement in general has had here on the ground, that from day to day, the ground rules, if you will, change. Last night when we were out there, we were told to keep moving, and what happened was the crowd just did sort of like a big loop, protesting in a big loop. As long as you kept moving, you were fine. So that was one ground rule. Then at one point you had a curfew, then you don't have a curfew. There's been some confusion early on, at least last week, in terms of how police should respond. Should they make an arrest? Should they not make an arrest? So there's been a lot of sort of back and forth in terms of how law enforcement responds. I think that some in law enforcement would say, look, we're just trying to respond to, in terms of how we're meeting the crowd, taking it sort of day by day. But in terms of the ground rules, I can tell you what they were last night. Tonight it could be something completely different.